Alright, do you know or can you guess how many times the title Lucifer or name Lucifer is mentioned in the Bible? 1,000 times maybe? 100? 10? Nope. Only one time in the entire Bible is the name or title Lucifer mentioned. And it comes in Isaiah chapter 14 verse 12. And it's just basically describing a Babylonian king. So you can go to that verse and read it for yourself. But the name Lucifer is not mentioned anywhere else in the Bible. But unfortunately, he's been demonized. So my point of bringing that up is to show you all the things that you've been told has been bad. Just like if you check out my video on the word nigger, which is in the Bible. Nigger, 666 becoming a beast. Most of these negative things, the word demon being so bad, which really means you're genius. So most of the stuff is flipped. So I want to drill that in your head. I want you to, so you got to rethink and start this all over, and don't avoid some of these terms. All right. So also the Beatles, who were also occultists, they had a song called "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." The name Lucy or Luke in any mythology is usually talking about Lucifer, just like Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars story. You can go back to that video on the Kabbalah with Star Wars. Luke Skywalker or Lucifer walking the sky as the planet Venus is what it's really referring to. And it later becomes the sun or Christ. Alright? So in the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Lucy refers to Lucifer. The sky refers to the skull, and the diamonds refer to something called the brain sand. So I'll go into brain sand in a moment. Alright? Although the Beatles admit to using LSD, they deny the song was about the psychedelic drug LSD. I think later on Paul McCartney admitted it was about LSD. You can look at the lyrics and tell it's talking about something about a rainbow or something. Just look at the lyrics and you can do your own research. I just want to mention how just like George Lucas didn't want to admit that he got the name Jedi from the term for Osiris's spine, which is D-J-E-D, the Jed. So you can look that up or look at my old video on Star Wars. Like I said, the D-J-E-D is Osiris's spine. They tried to say that this song came from one of their children came home with a picture that they drew of a classmate of a girl named Lucy, and they claim they got inspired from that art picture or something like that. It was something foolish. It was basically about LSD, which is a psychedelic. Other psychedelics like peyote, which is used by Native Americans, ayahuasca, DMT, they basically help you hallucinate, so on and so forth. LSD was also used by the government. You can look up MK Ultra, MK standing for mind control. They did mind control. Some people were willing volunteers. Some people they tricked and used LSD. You know, don't be surprised if the government does stuff like that. You know about the Tuskegee experiment where they injected black people with syphilis. All right. So like I said, I also want to mention that these psychedelics are not necessary for you to be a successful magician. What happens sometimes, it turns on the pineal gland, it activates it, but you get stuck, so you may become schizophrenic. So you really don't want to deal with drugs. If that's something you're into, if that's your cult, or you know part of some type of cult that uses it, then so be it. But it's not necessary. I want to stress that point. All right. The brain. I talked about DMT before. The brain produces DMT naturally. So we already have a natural hallucinogen inside our brain that we use, especially when we meditate, so on and so forth. If you look at the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper, they called it NZT. N as in Nancy, Z as in zebra, T instead of DMT, and it was basically talking about how they ingest pineal gland. There's a little clear little tablet that he would take, and he would get these limitless powers. That whole movie is really about how certain people with calcified pineal glands, they use they are told to use the pineal glands of dead people. Sometimes people they kill. Supposedly, this is all conspiracy theories. I just thought I'd add that that's what the movie is really about: ingesting pineal glands. Because when your pineal is calcified, it can't produce. You can't do certain things. What thing I want to talk about? Okay, let's move on. All right. So those are shamanistic drugs. They are used, but they're not necessary to be a successful magician. So now I want to discuss Lucifer. Lucifer is a Greek word, a Greek name, a title meaning light bringer or light bearer. Also sometimes called the morning star, the shining one, or son of the morning, or the morning sun. It can be S-U-N or S-O-N. So once again, we're dealing with that same stuff. Astrologically, Lucifer is Venus, the planet Venus. Biologically, Lucifer is the pineal gland or epiphysis gland. So my whole channel is called the Epiphany channel. So Epiphany, if you go define it, it means any sudden appearance of, I defined this before in my first video with Jacob's epiphany, and how he had this epiphany when he wrestled with the angel, which was God, and became enlightened, because Jacob's ladder is your spine once again. So go back and watch my first video, Jacob's epiphany. That's what this whole channel is grew out of, talking about the pineal gland. Alright? Or the epiphysis gland. Alright, so Venus, let's give you some facts about Venus. It's the same symbol for the female symbol. So the female symbol, which is a circle with an upside down cross, it also represents the copper in alchemy, copper, the metal copper. It's visible directly after sunset and right before sunrise. And so the goddess Venus is the goddess of beauty and love. So what's important right here is the part about the planet being visible right after sunset and right before sunrise. Because like I said, if you go to Revelations chapter 22 verse 16, Jesus says he is the morning star. He's basically saying he's Lucifer. So not to be confused with the devil, we're not, but what he's saying is right before the sun, because remember Jesus or the Christ represents the sun. So basically Venus is the brightest star or brightest light in the sky before the sun rises and right before the sun sets, if you will. So that's what that mythology is all about. It's talking about that astrology. But biologically, it's the pineal gland. It's the seat of the soul. So the pineal gland is also known as the seat of the soul. So these are some facts about the pineal or epiphysis gland. It's not inhibited by the blood-brain barrier. So it has a direct, it can be injected directly into the bloodstream. So you just got to do your own research on what the blood-brain barrier protects. Although it's buried deep into the brain, it senses light and darkness. So that's important. So we're talking about that Yakin and Boaz again, that light against dark, that electricity and magnetism. It secretes serotonin in the daytime, melatonin at night, and also DMT I already discussed. It's the only single structure inside the brain. Everything else is one of a two or a half of something. So you got the two hemispheres, the two brain horns, the two this, the two that. It's the only structure that's not one of a half. Alright, it's known as the third eye. Really by occultists we call it the first eye, because that's the eye that we used initially before we fell into this physical body. So that's where you get the mythical creature, unicorn, or the uni means one, corny is cornea, one eye. So that's all a unicorn really is. It's basically an allegory about us using, when we used to be unicorns, using our one eye. Alright, it's sometimes referred to as the seat of the soul. So it's not the soul itself, it's the seat of the soul. So it's the pineal gland. The pineal gland is not the soul, it's where the soul incarnates and beds itself around the 50th day. So you gotta look at my video on Pentecost. So around 49 days after your conception, your soul is embedded inside the pineal gland. Alright? Because the pineal moves from the roof of your mouth to the top of your head. Or to the deep inside your head, I should say. Alright? We discussed brain sand. What it is you gotta Google brain sand. What it is tiny magnetic particles around the pineal gland. And what happens is when you raise that kundalini energy up and you bring it up to the top, and once you illuminate your pineal gland, it turns into a diamond. So those little magnetic particles vibrate so fast and becomes like a glass city. So they talk about a glass city or something like that in Revelations. So that's what they're talking about. So the word diamond in Greek, it comes from the word atomus. So you're dealing with Adam again. Remember, we're atoms, mankind, male and female. And it means unbreakable, untamed, unalterable. So we're still dealing with that chaos. So we're gonna get into some chaos magic later on. So unbreakable, untamed, can't be changed. So that's what a diamond is. It's also carbon based, because remember, we're carbon based beings. So we're made out of the same material as diamonds. Like I told you in my 666 video, they actually are making cremated ashes of people into diamonds. Alright? So another thing you want to deal with is some of the Bible verses. I already discussed Revelations 22, where Jesus calls himself Lucifer, or the morning star. So you can know it's not a bad thing. 2 Peter verse 1, chapter 1, verse 19 talks about raising the morning star into your heart. In the Canaanite, in the Isaiah 14:12, it was translated from the word called Hellel. So you know, I told you in the Canaanite mythology, El was their god, or the high power. So the Most High was Elyon or whatever. So in the mythology, they say Hellel, the lower, lesser god, went down. That's where you get the word hell. So it's basically God in hell. God, like I said, Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. So this is basically God in the flesh. So just the same mythology turned in a different way. When you drop down into the flesh, you become Hellel. But up high, it's El. So just like Santa Claus being a saint at the top, being Satan at the bottom. So if you look at my Santa Claus video, you know, it's just the difference between being at the North Pole, which is your pineal, or the South Pole, which is your pineal, penis or ovaries, your sexual glands. Alright, the name Hellel means shiny one or morning star. So we're still dealing with shiny one or morning star, which is Lucifer. So Hellel is Lucifer. Now, you want to also deal with correspondence. Correspondence means you may not have a lot of information on one particular deity. So when you look at my video about becoming a magician, it's about self-deification. I tell you, look up a deity and try to become that deity. You may not find a lot of information on one deity and you want to get more. So for instance, it may be only so much information on Lucifer, but you're going to go with a correspondence like Prometheus. Prometheus was a Greek god who was punished for bringing light or fire to the people. So fire or light or enlightenment means it's just another way of wisdom. So you're dealing with, that's what the snake was trying to do in the Garden of Eden. So, but the snake became bad. So I'll get to that in a second. So a ritual they play out every 4 years is the Olympics. That's what the torch is all about. They're basically playing out that ritual of Prometheus and Lucifer bringing light to the humans or whatever have you. All right. This is the Hebrew Nakash. I can't pronounce. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but that's a Hebrew word for serpent. So serpent is also mean shiny one. It also means, it can be translated as shiny one. So what we're dealing with is Lucifer again. So a serpent. So you remember Moses had a copper serpent. So what is copper again? We're dealing with Venus. We're dealing with Lucifer. It's all lined up. The serpent, this word translates to serpent, and it translates to the shiny one. The shiny one is also Lucifer. Lucifer is also copper. You know, so you got to look at Moses when he talk about having a copper serpent. Is there anything else I wanted to discuss? I think that's it. So yeah, work on your correspondences, because you might not find a lot, because they call it the so-called missing years of Jesus. So you can always look at other childs or sons of gods like Hercules. What's another one? You get the idea. So correspondence. So you look up on Prometheus and other gods, or like I said, in Adam and Eve story, it was the serpent that became a bad guy. What I want you to do is read your own Bible and look at how much that demiurge or demigod Yahweh did. How many children he killed. Remember the flood? He drowned everybody. He was willing to drown everybody except Noah and his family. But what did the snake do? All the snake told you, which is the serpent, all the snake told you to do is if you want to know the difference between good and evil, if you want to eat from the tree of knowledge. Because remember, if you read the passage where they say, oh, they're going to be like us, basically they didn't want us to become gods. So just read that story again and just have an open mind instead of being told that the snake or serpent was the bad guy. Read the story for what it is, and then you got to realize if that was the creator in that story, because a part of that Genesis story, the God walking around. Once again, that's those physical attributes. Yahweh was walking around and couldn't find Adam because they were hiding. They had covered themselves with leaves. So how can an all-knowing God not know where Adam was at the time? So that whole allegory couldn't have been about the Creator. So the Creator doesn't intervene in our human affairs. All right. So that's not the Creator. So don't be afraid to not worship that Creator. So we're dealing with a magical lifestyle. We're not going to worship that demiurge or demigod, Yahweh. I told you that Yahweh really stands for your DNA. So on this physical world. So he's the ruler of this physical box. But we're going to start thinking outside this box or matrix. Alright, so I'll go into more of that later when I do a video on the matrix and the Hebrew letters. Alright, so I think that covers everything. Do your own research on brain sand. and so on and so forth, and all this other stuff I spoke about. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.